Okay, so hello everyone. So today we'll start with week 9. So let me paste the content.
Sir, will you be covering concepts today?
Today I'll cover up the stream part, the concept as well as the programs.
Okay.
So we'll do two of this. So I'll start with this stream, which is extension of what you have done previously, and we'll have this also do this collecting result. So next day I'll take the rest of the part like this IO streams and the serializability. Okay, so start with then the stream. So last time in week 8, we have completed with the stream with the discussion of like how to use the filters, how to use maps. We have seen the plat map also. Something we haven't done, we have read only theoretically, that is optional, right? So today basically we'll start with understanding what is optional and why do we. So this is ISTM, right? I have to start with this. So today we'll basically try to understand why the optionals are actually required and how effectively we can use the optionals, right? So I'm having lot many programs prepared today. So that's why I don't want to take the entire thing in a at a stage thing. So I'll go one by one. Okay. So I have created a bit different program what we have on the slides, but it is on the same line of the slide and it is in the same sequence. So the idea is like whatever in the slides, by seeing this, you'll practice those also in the similar way. Okay. So this is what is there in the slide. One thing, like the first one, I have done it interactive on the slide so that you at least understand how you can run whatever there on the slide, right? So this was like a stream. We want to generate a stream of random numbers. Uh, so random number, like every time we'll say generate, it generate a different stream of the random number. So you cannot make it deterministic. So if you see, you're going to find out the max. Since the random numbers are random, they'll be generated every time separately, differently, right? So that's why your max supposed to change in every run. So the point is, first we basically generate a stream of random numbers. We put a limit. I want to generate only 10 numbers and I want to generate max, right? So the random numbers are double over here. So I hope you can see the screen, right? It's shared, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want to find out what is the maximum random number. Okay. So that is my idea. Okay. So then uh, this max basically returns a double. This is the compare to function. So I'm calling the default compare to function which belongs to double. So if you have a class instead of double, suppose you are having an employee and you want to find out which employee is the max. So which employee is the max? Maybe who is getting the maximum salary or some kind of other logic you have to put. Then in that case you have to define this compare to function also and you have to call right employee colon colon compare to. So we'll see this kind of example later. The thing is, the result, you can see, it is going to be kept into a variable which is a optional of type, right? Which is a optional of type. Now, question is, why I am using a optional of type here? Okay, so let us find it out. So this is just an example to understand like how to run whatever the programs we have on the slide. I'll go for much more deterministic way so that you can understand how it is picking up the maximum and all. So you can see it is changing because it is a random stream, right? So it is going to be changed every time. Okay, let me go in a much more deterministic way so that I'll have some fixed number, right?
Sir, this random generate numbers between 0 and 1.
Yeah, it will generate between 0 and 1, but there are overridden things also. Sorry, overloaded thing also. Yeah, overloaded thing also, like you can fix up what is the range and all.
Okay.
So you can check with the documentation, it will give you all the things. Like you can specify this is the range or this is the max I want to generate, this kind of criteria you can put. Okay. So this is an interesting program. See, just I'll comment out the second line. So I'm having list of integers, right? So this is a list of integer. I told if you have an array, if you want to convert to a list, you can do like this, right? So you can first create an array, you can say as list, or you can do arrays dot as list. Both will work in the similar way. So these are your numbers. So you want to find out the max now. Every time calling the max, but if you look at the slide, you can find the min, max, count, the first number in the list. All those can be done, right? So I'm not going for everything. So those example you can try out. I'll show mainly the max, maybe one or two separately. So this is my list. This list I want to convert into a stream. So this is the conversion into a stream. Then I want to find out the max out of the stream. So finding the max, I basically use the integer.compare, right? Then this get, basically this max will return you a optional value. So if you want to find out the actual value out of it, that particular integer value out of it, you need to say dot get, right, which will return you the actual value.
Sir, why max will return an optional value?
And that is what I want to show. Okay, so last program what I've shown here, it was like generating a random value. So maximum value is a double value. I'm putting into a optional double. Now from optional is an object, right? A class object. So if I want to find the actual value out of it, get. I use a get. So here I'm doing the similar thing, but in a single line. This max will return optional object dot get, which I supposed to get a value, which will be an integer value in this case. Okay. So I'm running this. So I'm getting it 25. So it's working fine. Now see, I go for the second list. So this is the empty list. So what will be the max value?
0. 0.
Why? Why 0?
Max can't be found. No?
It is an undefined value, right? Something. We cannot define it because there is no value. So what happened in this case? This returns a null, and which cause a null pointer exception because you are trying to fetch a value using dot get, right? But actually you don't have a value out of it. This max do not give you a value, right? So that's the problem. If you try to run this, it's basically generate an exception. No such element exception. It's basically it's happening internally the null pointer thing because it returns a null kind of thing, right? So this is the problem. So that's why this optional comes into play. So now optional, how it can handle this, right? So this can happen in many cases, right? So if you give a count, it's not a problem, right? If you just give a count, will it be a problem? What do you think? Will count will create a problem? Anyone?
It should not create a
We
problem.
don't have
It
any
should give
Should not
0.
information.
create a problem. Only thing is count. I think returns a double, not an integer. I wanted to check it in week 8. I have done this. Oh, okay, it returns a null, long. It's okay. It returns a long. See, it does not return a optional. That's the point is. Because whatever your array or list may be, you're going to get a value, right? Whatever your list contained, you're going to get a value if you say a count. right? But what about this? If I say find first, if you do this, find first, right? Then it says it returns optional. And can you say why
Mhm.
it returns optional? For this, you will get a first value.
Why-
But what if I use the second list? What is the find first will return? It
It
returns a
should
null
generate
number.
same error.
Yeah,
The
so
same
no,
error, null
yeah,
point.
no such value, right? So it basically give you an exception, right? So this is where this optional comes to a play. I'll go step by step. Okay. So let us go try to understand now how I can effectively use the
Sir,
optional here. Yeah,
sir, I have a question.
yeah.
This dot get will only work if it will return this
If it is
option.
optional, yeah, if it returns optional. So optional
So,
gives you returns an object. It doesn't return you an integer float double, right?
okay.
It returns an optional object. Now I
Hmm.
want to say, if you say a get, whenever optional really has a value, it returns that value. But if optional do not have a value, then it generate an exception. Now, how optional can give you a way to make a good programming? That is a way, the thing I want to discuss. Okay. Now I go for a beautiful piece of program here. See, I have deleted my class. Okay. 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 That's okay. So I have public list. Okay. So let us see what I'm doing. The optional is there inside util. It is not inside the string. Okay. Please remember that sometimes we just give a dot string. In that case, optional won't come. So whenever you are using optional, remember it is in the util directly. Okay. So I'm using the integer array, converting into a list. Right. Then I'm getting the, I won't say where because I say where is a variant, right? So I'm making it as a val here. Okay. So I'm trying to find a max out of it, right? The same program. Now, interestingly, there is a function inside optional class. Optional class having a function, predefined method, is present. That means if there is a value inside the optional. If it is a value inside optional, then you say val.get, right? You print the value. But in case it doesn't present any value, then you say empty list, right? Instead of giving an exception or something. So it is a predefined function which returns a true if there is a value inside the optional. If the optional is empty, then it says false. So now you have a value, but say if I use the second list, it's an empty list. So it could be a proper way to show the messages, right? Avoid the exception also. Do you get it? Get it, right?
Sir, so this optional is a class which has all the properties of integer.
Sir,
No.
can you show the optional class, like how it
Yeah.
implements and its function and all?
Optional class definition I cannot show, right? Because uh, but I can show you the documentation for it. So, technical documentation. Detailed documentation. So optional is in Java dot util dot optional. It's basically a generic type. So if your return value supposed to be a string, you'll put a string. That means you can return a string or a null, right? If you say optional of
Okay.
integer, either you return an integer or return a null. So these are different functions we have. Okay. Maybe it's difficult. You need to read it. You have to put some time, but maybe we'll go like this. It is much easier in that way. So if I say optional of integer means either it supposed to get an integer, it will store an integer value, or it stores empty, means a kind of a null. Right? If I say it's optional of string, either it store a string or a empty. Right?
Okay.
So is present to check it's really having a value, integer value or not. If it is there, it returns a true. Then I retrieve the value. If it do not have a value, so it's empty, I can give any corresponding message, right? Up to this, is it okay? Because all are related to this function only. If you got it, you got the entire thing. Up to this, is it fine for all?
Yes.
Okay.
But this optional object is only helping in sorting the error, or is it
Yeah, it is basically avoiding the exception.
and nothing else? Then
Nothing
optional
else.
object. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But it will save you in many functions where you have to return something which is actually do not exist. Right? Suppose you are writing a kind of a suppose find the max function, right? And your input is a array. Now what it your this thing will return? It will return a -1 usually what we do, but -1 itself is a can be a value inside your array, right? How do you know if -1 is not a value, it's a valid value? Sometime what we do, we return a null. But if you return a null and you're basically printing the value of the find max, then it will give you a null pointer exception, right? Because you cannot print a null value. So in that case, what you can do in your function also, you can make it return optional. See, value is there, it will print. Otherwise, it don't print anything.
Okay, sir. Understood.
So let us go further. We'll understand slowly because all the things are related to this. Okay. So this is with which function is present. So all are similar to this. If value is there, what I'll do. If the value is not there, what I'll do. So I'll try to be consistent with this list, but I'll show the string list afterwards. Like other list also works. So I have basically done the same thing. I have the array. I'm converted into list, then list to a stream. Then I'm finding the max. Right. Now, with the optional variable val, I'm using another function. Right. I say or else. How does it works? If the value is there, if the value is really there, it gives you the original value. If the value is not there, it gives the value what you have given here. You pass it as an argument. So you meant to say, if you have a max, like here it is 25, then give a 25. But if it is empty, then give a 0. So you can give any value over here. If suppose you want to give, if it is empty, then you give a minus 100, right? So if
Sir,
I write,
can we pass a string also or only the
there
integers?
is an option. I'll show you slowly. So I'll
Okay.
explain every option. First one was like if else. This is like given an integer value. I'll show you all the options. So this is 25. But if the list is empty, then whatever the value I want to show my user, that will come. Right? So only changes this line. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll be progressing it slowly. Okay. So next is using a function. Okay. So I'm having a function static int, some function to generate int. So I wrote it just from the slide. Uh, okay. But this main is different because there again the example is the random number. But problem with the random number, it's not a deterministic value, right? So maybe it's difficult to understand what is the max. So that's why I took some integer values. Okay, so here again I have the array converted into a list, then list to a stream. Then I'm trying to find the max. Okay. Now what I do here, I say or else get. What is it do? If the value is there, right? Like for this case, it will give you 25. Otherwise, you are saying call this function, right? Otherwise, you are saying call this function. Now, in this case, this function returns a 0. This has to return a integer value only because the left hand side is an integer value. But you can basically do some calculation and return an accepted value. So this is, if it is not there, you will be able to call a function. Even if you want to print something on your this system dot out dot println, I just say empty, right? And I try with this. It calls the max, then returns the value also. So default value it shows it's a 0. So this is, if the value is there, it will print it. If it is not there, it calls a certain function. Okay. So next we'll learn if it is
Sir,
there.
if we have, say, here we have a static function, but is it necessary that we always
No,
have
no,
the
no, no,
static
no.
function?
Static function I have written because I'm directly calling it without the object,
Mhm.
right?
But we can call
You
using.
can call also, but you have to refer to that object, right?
Okay.
Then in case you have to create an object of the main and you have to call it. That's
Okay.
all. So this is calling a function if the value doesn't exist. Now I want to show you generate an exception, a customized exception maybe, if the value doesn't exist, right? So suppose, so let me show how to generate the exception first, then I'll show customized exception. You'll do what? First, you'll try this file I'll be sharing on Discord today itself, now itself. You practice all the programs, just run them and try to understand. Then whatever the programs are there, not programs, the snippets are there on the slides, right? Try to run them because those are not a complete things. You have to do some changes, some customization on that because all the codes are not complete also. Somewhere you have to do a casting extra. So if you try with those things, so you'll get a clear idea how the things happen. Okay, so it basically throws a illegal state exceptions. So it is the function or else throw, right? Or else throw. This is the only change. So if you see that no such value exception, you want to throw a exception which you want to throw. And it can be a user defined exception also. This is, see, it is showing your exception, what you have thrown. So if you just throw an exception class here, generate an exception class here, say it's a class, uh, or say no
Value.
value exception, right? Extends, yeah, value not find, whatever it is. No value exception, suppose I'm saying. So suppose I say it's a checked exception, can make unchecked also. If you want to show a custom message also, then I have to pass something on the super. So this is the default constructor, right? I give a default message, no value found, right? And no value found, no value exception. Will it run? Will this code run? I'm firing a checked exception, right? So either the entire thing has to be in a try catch, or I have to do a throws,
Try
right?
catch, you have to, yeah, throws.
Or throws. Any of these I have to use. So better approach in this case to use a try catch because It is little risky to throw from the main because it goes to hit the JVM, right? Other function, it will come back to main or the caller. So what I want to catch, which exception? I want to catch this no value
Value
exception
exception.
E, and I want to print system dot out dot print ln E dot get message,
Message.
right? So which message it should print? This one, right? Because I passed it to the super, like the exception class. So it fired the exception, it is caught over here. If I don't have it, it works fine.
Sir, is there a way to visualize this?
What you want to visualize?
It's like in general, when we debug, we can see where it is catching the exception and all those stuff. So, is there a way
You
to
can
do
do that. Okay, 1 minute. Here, no. See how to do it.
breakpoint? I think you have to.
I have to put a breakpoint over here. Maybe I have to show it on the next day because in the online I don't know.
No issue.
This is open. 1 minute. Let me check it out if I can show it.
Basically, I want to know means how to
I
visualize.
do got your point. If you have to show it, that is what I'm trying to find out. If I have to show it, how do I show? I put a breakpoint. If I can put a breakpoint, I can easily do it. Okay, let me not try it now. I'll try it later. I'll show you next day. Okay. But how it progresses, I'm showing it step by step way here. So it's basically taking a array, converting into a list, then list to a stream, then finding the max, right? Then it's stored on a variable val. Better not to take a var. Then in this line, I'm saying or else throw, right? Now this optional val, now having a value 25, so this will be 25 and it will print a 25. But on the this part, when it is empty, right? So it's a empty list, then it's converted into a stream, then max returns optional val, right? Now optional that val dot or else throw. Now it doesn't find a value, so it throws this exception, right? The moment the exception is thrown, the natural progress of the code will be stopped. It will jump to the exception. So E will be our object, storing an object of no value exception. It goes over here, print the message. Right?
Okay, sir.
Sir, to create the breakpoint, you can click before the line number.
So yeah. So I was clicking that. I don't know why it was not coming. Okay. 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 Step. So now, yeah, step by step happening. Okay. So this is the empty, right?
Hmm.
Now here it should raise the exception. So it's gone to the exception. So it's creating an exception object, right? The exception object will be called by the exception handler.
Catch
See,
block.
this output is not executed, right?
Hmm.
Then it prints the value, it goes out. Done.
So means output will not be considered once exception is thrown. So that's the basic theory here, and it moves to
No,
the
not output.
defined
Whenever the
function.
exception is generated, from there it will skip the normal flow of the exception, go to the handler.
Okay,
It could be any code after following, but all the following code will be skipped. It will directly go to the handler. That's all.
understood, sir. So, sir, here we can even use null pointer exception to show it, right? It's no value exception.
But it won't
In
be a
that.
customized one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just save this one also because this one I've used a customized this thing. Okay, so next I have here check out the operation. So again the same thing. So I'm getting the value into a val. Okay. Then what I'm doing, I'm taking an array list. Now my idea is whatever the max value I'll have, add it to my list. I'll add it to my list. Okay. Now,
So we are already taking element from a list and again adding it back to another list.
yeah, suppose inside the loop, I'm having many lists. I want to store all the max values from each list into another list, right? I want to find
Mm-hmm.
out the maximum value of each list and store it into the thing. So maybe it's some kind of situation. There are many shopping bills, right? Every suppose 10 days shopping bills you are having. You want to find out a list of every day's like what is the maximum bill you have. So some kind of situation like this. So once you gather the max into this val, if you want to directly add it on the result, right? So if you have the results dot add and you want to add your results dot get, what is the value? Now whenever you have it, have the real list. What happened? Oh sorry, this is val, right? This is val dot get, right? Val is the option. Result is the list. So it is storing the value in the list. You can understand, no, by this box, the square brackets, it's on the list, printing the list. But suppose it do not have anything on the list, then it will return something which is not there. So it's again getting a exception, right? No such value exception. So what I want to do, I want to say add it if the value is there. If the value is not there, then don't add it. So in simple way, if present, then only this operation will take place. You get it? You get it? Hello. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So see now it's returning, it's basically printing a list, but it is an empty list, means value is not added. But if I go, okay, but it you can do a various thing using this. It's not like adding into a list only the main thing. So let me show. Somebody was asking how to print it, right? Suppose I want to say I'll print it if the value is there. Otherwise, I won't print it. All right. So I can use my lambda in such a way. I'll say system dot out colon println right v dot get. So what does it means? Do this on my v if the val having a value, right? Otherwise, I'm not doing this. Otherwise, I'm not doing this. What happened?
Sir, there are three brackets at the end.
Three will be there, right? This is for this one, this is for this one, and this is for the bigger one, right? Three will be there, right?
Two, no?
Why? This is for the 1 minute. This is ending on the third one.
Hmm.
This is on the second. This is correct only, right?
Okay, there is extra pair of brackets in there. Okay.
Where? Don't think I have to do this. 1 minute, I have done a mistake. 1 minute. You cannot give an argument over here in the lambda.
We don't get yes.
Mhm. What I want, if the value is there, I'll print it. If the value is not there, I don't print it. So that's my logic is. Okay. So why it's not taking lambda? So some statement or something. Oh, I cannot give an argument here, I think. So you have to give, because I'm basically printing the val, no? Val dot get. It is not v dot get.
Hmm. Sir, this
Getting
max is
the correct, right?
returning a string, right?
No, max why it will return a string. This is generating a string, then
Hmm.
max is returning a optional, right? The final return is on the left hand side. That's an optional integer.
Okay.
List dot stream will return a stream on which the max will work. Max will return an optional of integer. So this is your final result. Now this on
Hmm.
the val you are working on. Now you're saying if the value is there on the val, do this. Otherwise, do something else. One minute. For V. So there's no return something else. I need to check it. It isn't. It returns. Returns. Avoid. Returns a void. Println also returns a void, right? It's
Yes.
true, actually. If I don't do anything else, I just print it, right? That is also fine. It's a normal way I say print it. See, the brackets are okay. Yeah, brackets looks okay. Void type is not allowed. But gate will return. If present returns a void only, right? Yeah, so why it is showing void is not. Val dot get will give you a value. Anything at all. Not it gives. Problem on this.
Sir, print spelling.
uh, this kind of statement may not be work in lambda. Hmm. So I supposed to pass something on lambda. So it works on the past value. So pass it. Splitting a problem. Okay, let me check it out later. Okay. I'll go to the next one. Maybe later I'll solve this. Okay. So moving next. So anyhow, like this means if I have the value, do this, otherwise don't do it. Next one. So this one having a constant. I'm saying if it is there, do something. But what I have to say, if I don't have, then what to do, right? So the second version also solve this case. This is also a version of if present or else. Means if present, what I'll do, and if it is not there, what I'll do, right? So okay, first I have my list. I convert it into a stream and find the max. You get a array, sorry, list in which you have to add the max. So if present, you'll be adding to the list. If it is not there, I want to say give some message. There is no max or something, right? So value is there. It prints the value. If it is not there, it do not add anything and say no max. The similar thing, but you can put a customized message on this. So this part is extra or else. Now this is much important. It's a little different what I have done before. So if you want to create your own optional object, right? So suppose you have a function like a find max. So you may not be able to find the max. So you don't have such element which is max inside your array. So what you should return? So you can return a optional dot empty. So optional having a special attribute that's called a empty. So that signifies there is no such value exist. So here got this example from again from the slide only, but you can do some other example also. Uh, but the thing is should be in the similar way. So you have a function called inverse, right? So if it is x, I make it 1 by x. Okay. Now why I want to do the return optional? If the x is a 0, then I'll say inverse do not exist, right? See, instead of returning a null or negative value, inappropriate thing, what I do, I return a optional dot empty, which signifies that there is no such value. So if you just print it, it will give you a no such value exception, which is a much better practice, right? Really, it is not null. It is not a -1 or any special value. It's basically there is no such value to exist. It's much logical also in that way. So This inverse function take a double, but if the x is 0, if you make it 1 by 0, so that value do not exist at all. So you have to say no such value exception. So it returns a optional dot empty, right? But if the value really exists, you make 1 divided by x. This double constructing is not required actually, because x is already a double, right? Then if you want to convert it into an optional object, use optional of. Means this double value will become an optional double. So this optional of, this result is a double value, right? So the return type will become optional double. Suppose it returns a integer value, then the return type will become optional int of integer, right? Like this. So since it is returning a double value, it's optional and double, right? So either it returns the real value, which is 1 by x, or it returns empty. Okay. So what I do, suppose I have a real value, suppose it's a 3. Since it's a double, I say the 0.0 also. Then I use this present or else this thing. I say if the value exists, I'll print the value. If the it returns empty, I can say undefined. Right. So if I run this, so I'm getting a value. But suppose I pass it as a 0.0. So really my result becomes undefined, right? So this optional manage this. Optional, keep it as an optional. If you fix it to a double, there is no way you can check it, right? So that's why you return an optional double, means either it's a double or it's empty. So maybe whatever we have done in a practical scenario, this is the most important program today, whatever the program done among them. All are where the use of optional actually, this is actually what you have created optional here. Okay.
So means here optional is kind of like for error handling only we are using it,
Yes,
right?
yes, it's yeah, it's basically stop unintended exceptions and handles the value in a better way, right? See, if you have a value,
So
return the correct value. If you don't have a value, you say no such value. You don't have to say it is a -1, it is a null or anything else.
so sir, means does it only work with streams?
It will only work with stream, but you can use a customized function like this, right? This is no string here, right?
Yes, no stream.
So you can, so whenever there is a possibility, either you return a correct value or you don't return anything. You can use optional over there.
Okay, means none should be returned or
Yeah, suppose you need to write a function which will return the index of the searched value. If the value is not exist, what will return? Suppose you're supposed to return an index which is an integer. So return is an integer type. So
okay.
that creates a problem. You will be forced to return a -1 or -100 something, but which is not perfect, right?
Yes.
Logically. So you say if it is 1, 2, 3, it's okay. If it is not, then I'll say no such value, right? I'll return a empty. So I don't have a value. Rather than returning a improper value, incorrect value.
Okay.
Okay. So the optional part mostly have done. Next, there are many a situation. Okay, right now what we are doing, we are getting a list, getting an array, converting it to a string. But many a situation you need to convert a stream into a list, stream into a set, or stream into a map, right? Because your result is a stream, but you want to give it to your user as a list, as a set, or as a map. So how you can do that? So till now, whatever the stream program we have done, we took a list, we took a array, then converted everything to a stream. But we'll do now the reverse thing. Okay. Now I'll convert a stream into the list, stream into the set. Those are easy. I'll do that. Those two first. Map is little difficult. I'll do next.
Sir, one thing for typecasting, we generally do this bracket and the thing which we want to typecast it.
Ah, ah.
And for this optional object, we do this option off dot off to typecast.
Yeah, it will convert it to optional type. Optional is not a primitive type. No, you have to do it explicitly with a function. So int, float, double, these are primitive types. For that, we can mention it on a bracket. It will automatically do a casting, right? But if you have an employee to a student, right? So if it is inherited, it is fine. But suppose you have an employee and whereas that side you are having a shape, you cannot do a casting between them because they are not in the same hierarchy. But you can still can do that if you have a specialized function. You say convert to shape, or shape will have convert to an employee. All this impractical looks like, but you can still have a function which will convert between each other, right? Okay. So look at this. First, I want to generate a stream. So this stream integer of integers, sorry, integers, stream of integers, which will have object integers. Then I say stream iterate. It starts with a 0 less than 10. So this is the limit. And every time I say n equal to n plus 1. And I just print them. So let me have a list. What happened? Oh, sorry. I need to remove this semicolon, right? What happened again? System dot it is not working.
Print ln of v, no?
Is it required?
Earlier also this was the problem.
Sir, ask GPT.
1 minute. 1 minute. Just I'll check the slide. For each lot of program last day we have written, no? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
this is only I have done. This is only I have written, right?
Same type of questions were there in examination also. Did they change the API?
No, nothing. Something else is happening.
Sir, can you take
Sorry,
it into
sorry, sorry.
one
Yeah,
line?
I got it. For each returns a void, right?
Huh.
So you cannot have a return integers. Stream is not a return, no. Stream is return of the first part. This returns a stream. But this returns a void, right? You're just printing the value. So that's why you cannot have a return value, right? For this. Yeah, it's basically generating, right? So it just print it side by side, so it's generating. This will return a stream of integers, right? This part. But what you are doing, you are applying a println print on that. Print doesn't return anything. So it returns a void, right? Left hand side you cannot have anything. So it's generating a stream of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, let me store the stream in a variable. So I don't want to print it, rather I'll store it into a stream. So this is my stream integers type, which will be stored over here. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is stored into this object. Okay. Now, what I want to do, I want to convert it into an array, stream to an array. So how do I do it? Integers is the stream. Then I say to array, right? So if I want to create an integer array out of it, then I say integer array and a new. So it creates the object. Now this is printing your array.
Sir, new is a method in integer array.
It's basically creating an integer array. You're saying create an integer array object. because you are creating this result, no? It is an integer array. Somewhere you have to create this array. So I'm passing it as a lambda so that this integer array could be inside created.
Okay.
So it's printing the array. So it's basically converting the string to an array. So this is careful, huh? It's basically the last expression, whatever it's written, that is your left hand side. So if you just consider up to this returns a string. But if you do this, then it returns a void. Then you cannot have this left hand side. Okay. So I'm on the week 9. Okay. Next, I'll go for map and list. Okay. Okay, let it be there. The first part of it, I take a integer string. Right? It's again 0 to 9. Right? The same thing. I want to convert into a list. So it's a collector function, stream.collect function. Within that, to specify it to what you want to convert. So it can convert you. Yeah, Purnendu.
So this collector is actually a class or an object, or it is
This
something else?
collect, which
Hmm.
one?
And that collectors,
I
yes.
think that this is a class.
And collect is also a class.
Collect is a method. It is a
Okay.
stream method. So uh, it's
I
basically
think
like this
in lecture,
string.
sir said that collect defines the collector's object.
Inside collect, you have to define the collector's object. So this is stream.collect. It is a
Hmm.
method. Yeah. So inside that you have to define your collectors, right? So collector says you need to make it a list. You have to make it a
Set.
map, make set, whatever it is. You have to specify that.
Okay.
So this is I'm creating just a list, but I can also say I have to create an array list. I have to create a linked list. That also there. I'll come to that. So this is converted into a list as an option, like how to deal with strings, a stream of strings. I have another example because a lot of integers example I've shown. And I took it because also you can understand the sequencing, right? Because if I take 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you won't be able to understand the order. Because if I want to go for this tree set or any sorted kind of list, you will be able to understand the sorting. So I have a list of strings, right? Not list, array of strings, which is converted into a stream. Then I say collect collectors dot to list. I say convert into a normal list. So do not change your ordering or anything. It just print it as a normal list. The same thing. I'll go for map. This is the same thing only, so I'm not taking much time. Okay, trying to do it a bit quickly. Map, I have to spend some more time. Okay, so I'm having an integer string again 0 to 9, and I want to convert to a set, a normal set, right? It is converting into a set. Now for string, I have done some changes from the previous one. The set, as per the property, it cannot have the duplicate value, but it having this append wise, right? The stream. Now from the stream, as I convert into a set, it will remove all the duplicates, right? So see, the apple appears only once. Okay, now be specific, right? Okay, which tree set or linked list, what specific class you want. Okay, so this is our iterator. Now you want to create a tree set out of it. So for this, there is no way to understand it is tree set or something because we are keeping a shorted value. So that's why I have considered a string. Uh, Here, if I create a tree set, the set property also observable and tree set property also observable because you can see it's alphabetically ordered, right? Because it's a tree set. So I'm specifying in the collectors that tree set colon colon no, so it creates an instance of a tree set. So similarly, to list, you have to give a array list colon colon new, this kind of thing. Okay. Now I go for the list summarization. Shall I go list summarization first or I'll complete the map first? Let me complete the map first.
Summarization first. It is little bit easy compared to map.
I'll complete this map first. Okay. Map is more interesting. And I'll maybe using the same example of map only to continue with the rest of the part. So basically inside map, there are two functions which are important. One is group by, another is partition by. So which can convert a stream into map. Okay. So I took an example of a class. You can take any other class also. Sarah's took a person where you'll have each person having an identity and a name. So I took an employee because I do lot of employee example and shape example everywhere. Okay. So this is employee which will have a name and a age. And I'll have two accesses, get name and get age. Other than I have a toString so that if I pass a object of employee in a println, it will print in a name colon age format, right? This is a specific formatted way it will be printed. Okay. So I'm creating a list of employees. This is clear, right? No doubt, because we have done many a time. Up to
Yes.
this is it clear? Okay, so I've created a list out of this array. So name and age combination. Now I want to convert into a string. So this employees.stream will convert the entire list to a string. Now this is important. How do I'm doing converting into a map? So if I use a group by, right? Then I have to say by which you are doing the grouping. So here I say get age. So it is group by age. So just think about in DBMS, if I say group by age, what will happen? So for 30, I'll have a group. For 25, I'll have a group. For 40, I'll have a group. For 35, I'll have a group. So 30 will have one row. 25 will have two row. 40 will have one row. 35 will have one row. So similar way, it creates the map. So map will say group by what? So it will be 30. For 30 seconds inside the list, there will be two employees. Sorry, one employee. This Alice and 30. Then there will be an integer 25. Against that in the list, there will be two rows. This Bob and Charlie. Correct? So if I just print it, See, against 35 we have if 35, right? Now against 40 there is a David with 40. Against 35 we are having 25, there are two elements, right? Because this is a list. So we are having employee, list of two employees. Against 30 there is one element. Now the moment I make this is not 30, this I say 35, this is 30. So now against 30, whatever the list we have, it will have two elements, right? So it will have Eve also. So it basically exactly work the same way it's in the DBMS. It's basically group the object here by the age. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
See, program looks big, but logically it's very understandable. Like it's a group by clause. How do we use in the database? This is, you can think this is the program for it, right? The backend program for it. Okay, so partition Y always create two sets to this thing. So one is when the condition is true, when one the condition is false. So in group by we give a grouping kind of clause by what you should do the grouping, but in partitioning we give a partitioning predicate. Okay. So again it is the same thing. The employee having the name and age, constructor, then the accessors, then to string to print them in a formatted way. Then I create the list of the elements. It is the same list what we have previously. I convert the list to a string. Now here I am doing the changes. So I say my predicate is, so I say partitioned by. So predicate is given x age is less than equal to 30. So I'll give two groups. One, once the condition is true. Once the condition is true, I'll get a list where this condition is true. So I'll get Alice, I'll get David, and I'll get Eve. And when the condition is false, when the condition is true, I'll get Alice, Bob, and Charlie. And when the condition is false, I'll get David and Eve, right? So see the return, how it creates a map. So in the map, the key is a Boolean, means either it's a true or false. So you can have two lists actually. A list for when the condition is true, a list when the condition is false. So if you just look at the output, it's understandable, intuitive from the output only. Let me show you the output. But you have to practice a bit, okay? It looks easy, but maybe it creates some problem writing the lambda and all. So streams are actually easy, but it's very difficult to debug if you get an error. Because it's very much syntax prone, that's the problem is. So false is for David and Eve because it's violate the conditions. True for Alice, Bob, and Charlie. So these are the two functions which can create a map out of given stream. One is group by, so you can have a group by clause, and second is you can have a predicate. It will make two lists. When the predicate is true, one list is for predicate false. Okay, the last thing
Yeah.
which is yeah.
Sir, this partitioning by it can only group into two, like not three
True,
and
always
more.
because the key is Boolean, right? If key is Boolean, definitely you can have two things, right?
Okay.
Key has to be unique, and Boolean cannot be anything other than true and false, correct?
Hmm.
Now I'll go for the easy thing. That's a summary. Summary you have to practice a bit, but it's simple. It's just a syntax heavy thing. If same syntax used everywhere. Okay. So if you have a stream, you can extract out some statistics out of it. Okay. So let the employee be there because I'll be needing it later. Okay, so I have a stream of my this orange, banana, mango, and apple. So I want to find out the integer statistics out of it. So integer values out of it, right? And the criteria is here, summarizing criteria is string length. Length of the string is the criteria. So that's why the output I expect, summary output I expect in an integer way. Okay. So what I want to have, I want to get the average. So all these values will be returned in a double. So it may be the criteria may be an integer, it can be a double or whatever it is. The output always, these functions always returns a double. So what I have, I want to find out what is the average length of this watch, right? Get average. What is the maximum length of the watch? How many words are there? What is the minimum? What is the maximum length? This kind of thing, right? If I just print it, so its average is 5.5, maximum length is 6. So this banana having the maximum length. Then this is the number of element is 4. This is the minimum length. So these are the statistics. I'll give the program, please run it and check it out. Okay, so because
Sir,
it's
in this
very
summary statics,
Ah,
if
yeah.
you do not do this double average double, this then it will automatically give us a map.
It will always give the results in double.
Okay. Means how it will
Always
show like a map with get average this value, get max this
uh-huh.
value like that.
What? I'm not getting it. Can you tell me?
Like this summarizing int, how we will get this like a map where the key will be get average, get max, something like that.
No, no, no. It will be an object, and you are just calling the defined getter for it, I
Yeah,
guess.
this is a predefined class. You are not defining
Hmm.
anything. All these
Okay.
codes are written. Whatever the stream will give, it automatically calculates for it. So that's why I'm saying it's basically a fixed kind of code. You need to remember it and write it whenever it's required. So there is no much understanding is required on this part.
Okay.
So this integer stream having an extra function sum. You can also sum up the elements what we have.
Sir, we have
So
double also, no? Double and long.
yeah,
Some.
because
Hmm.
it depends on what kind of value you are comparing with. So these are all integer value. Previously I take a length. This is an integer value. If these values are different, you have to take a different thing.
We have to do summarizing double and then double int
Yeah.
value, int or whatever value.
Here you have to give a double. Here also you have to use a double. But rest of the part will remain same.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So it's a 0 to 9 and it gives all the stats. The maximum, average, mean, count, sum of 1 to 9, all those things. The
All the
last one is bit,
submitted.
last one is bit important because I have done it with a class, that employee class itself. So that's why I kept the employee class there. So suppose I want to extract a summary of my this employee class, right? So I created a list converted into a string. Right. Now I want to get the summary based on the age. So I've used the get age. Again, these ages are integer. So I have a int over here. This is also integer summary. So I want to find out uh, how many employees are there, what is sum of all the ages, what is the minimum age, what is the average age, what is the maximum age. So I have to use the accessor properly. So if I give this age, it will do the summary on the age. If I give a name, then it will do the summarization on the name. So, so these are the output. So I want to stop it over here. Please practice this because this is much dependent on how to practice it because lesser understanding is required for this. This is very straightforward, but the first part, this optional part, you have to do a clear understanding. That's very
Sir,
logical thing.
sir, means actually when you were explaining the map thing, right?
Uh-huh.
So means I was means I got a bit disconnected. I had some questions regarding map.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
Can you move to that particular code?
Uh, this was the
Huh. So basically, how this actually works means that string part, whatever you are doing, no? List employee and then collectors grouping by
so if I
these.
say group by, ages, right?
Hmm.
It's similar like how DBMS works, right? It find out what are the age. So if it is 30, so what
Hmm.
is the return type? It's a integer is the key and list of employees is the value. So if the
List of
age is 30,
employee, how we are okay, so we are taking
it's
the input as list of employees is of type list of employee, right, of class.
uh, so 30
Hmm.
against 30, how many employees are there? This only it will store only this object, this list.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Now for 25, the list will store two objects, these two.
Hmm.
Against 40, there will be one, right? So this is how it is
So where are we
grouping.
defining get age?
Huh?
Get age, this grouping by element ID, get age.
This is data accessor, right? In employee
Okay.
class.
Okay.
It just return the ages because this is defined as a private, right?
Huh.
That's all. And if it is a partition by, then you have to give a
Partition why I
predicate.
didn't understood at all. Means like why, means what is the use case for this?
It's basically you give a where clause, right, in DBMS, and you
Mm-hmm.
find out all the rows which are satisfying. So
Huh.
here basically it gives you all the rows which are satisfying, all the rows which are not satisfying.
So sir,
So
always we
it
have to
returns
write
to
this.
map. It
Mm-hmm.
returns a map
Mm-hmm.
where this boolean is true. Against that, you will have a list which is satisfying this predicate, and it will be a false. It gives all the list of the elements which will for which this predicate is false.
So this partition by automatically does that for us.
Ah,
This
yeah.
separation. We don't need to write that if else
No, no.
loop
This is
that
a
we
predefined methods in the
earlier
string.
used to write.
Yeah. So this is my predicate in this case, less or equal to 30. So this Alice, Bob, and Charlie will become one list, and David
Mm-hmm.
and Eve will become another list against the false.
Okay. Sir, also, when we use the collect, so we always have to define the collectors.
Yes, yes. We need to
What is
define
the
the collector.
criteria to define collectors?
Collectors defines what you want like output. So if you say collector to a list, it will return you a list. Collector to a set, it returns you a set. Collectors to a map, it returns a map. Collector to a partition by it's defined a map of a specific kind. You say collectors dot a group by it
Mhm.
returns a map of a specific
So
kind.
whenever I have to use any method, I have to first call collectors and then dot that particular method.
Yeah, you need to mention what you want. You need a set, you need a uh, list, you need a map. Depends on
Mhm.
that, you have to define the method.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Even you can be more specific. You can specify like you want an array list, you want a tree
Mhm.
set. That is also possible. I shown you, girl. Those are I have
Yes,
done.
you should.
So I think you can practice. It's not so difficult. I have given
No, no,
all
I
set
will
of
try.
example what are possible. So
Mhm.
run everything. I'll take another class to cover up this input output stream.
Sir,
So input output stream, huh?
where to access these codes?
I'll put it on the discourse after some time. Today only.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm
Is
having
it
a
pinned?
class.
Just pin that particular post.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay then. Okay, bye. I have a class again. Great.
Yes, and bye.
Thank you, sir.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
sir.
Good night.